HCGChica. I came on today to talk about the topic of how do you go about making long-term permanent changes to your eating habits after the HCG diet. In talking with a lot of you, many of you are concerned and nervous about how you're going to eat well after the diet's over. How are you going to not gain the weight back? And this is a valid concern because I want to share my story with you as well, because I think it will hopefully reassure you. Before you do this diet, most of us are overweight for various reasons, but like in my case, one of them was that I was addicted to sugar. So some of you may be in the same boat where you are kind of addicted to a bad eating lifestyle. And so the idea of making a permanent change to the way that you eat is something that you just can't comprehend. And I remember feeling that exact same way actually. Before I started the diet, I remember thinking to myself that yes, I could probably stick to the diet for 6 weeks because I knew I would be losing a lot of weight, so that would, keep me motivated. But after that was over, I really couldn't fathom changing how I ate forever. I didn't see how that could be possible for me because I had such strong cravings. I have a strong history of starting really, strict diets for myself and then giving up after 2 or 3 days because it just felt too hard. So things like that. So I just didn't think it would be possible for me because of those strong cravings that I used to have for sugar. And it's true that when you have strong cravings for something, inevitably you're probably going to give in at some point. So the real important thing to do is to actually get rid of those cravings entirely. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because the whole HCG diet protocol itself, the way it's designed is it basically carries you through a time period that changes your eating habits for you, almost, in a sense. What happens is you go through, if you do the diet for 6 weeks, say, which is what I usually do. 6 weeks you're on the diet, you're eating extremely healthy. The only real carbs that you're having are 2 fruits a day, a whole fruit, which are healthy. Following that, you have 3 weeks to stabilize your new weight where you're not eating any starches or any sugars, And so you spend 9 whole weeks eating extremely healthy, not eating any of the foods that you used to eat. So basically what happens is during that time, that's over 2 months that you've been eating healthy. By the time you get to the end of that period, you don't have those cravings anymore. You don't have that habit anymore of, I'll just give you my example, going to the local ice cream shop and buying a half gallon of ice cream and eating almost all of it. Yes, I did used to do that. And I didn't think I could live without that. That's how addicted to sugar I was. So I just wanted to encourage you guys that when you go through this process, don't feel too worried if at the start of it you don't feel like you can make that long-term change, or you don't feel mentally ready, because honestly, I didn't feel that way either. When I first started, I really did. I had no intention of changing how I ate long-term because I really didn't think it was possible. But as it turns out, by the time I got to the end of that 9-week period of doing HCG and then doing the 3 weeks of stabilization, it was actually easy to make the right choices. I had lost 27 pounds in a short time. I looked and I felt great about my body. Technically, I was still overweight, but you know what? To me, it was a new body to me. Being 27 pounds less, that I felt like I looked good. So that was really motivating. And then the fact that I no longer had those sugar cravings, because that sugar had been out of my system long enough that those cravings just weren't there. And I'll tell you guys, it is a huge difference for the control that you have over the choices you make as regards to food when you have cravings and when you don't have cravings. It's just a night and day difference. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, so that even though of course it's good if you feel like mentally ready to make a long-term change, and if you feel that way, wonderful, but not all of us start the protocol feeling that way. And I just want to tell you that that's okay, and that doesn't mean that you'll fail. I was so surprised and so pleased to see how my body changed, how my desire for food changed over the course of the HCG protocol, so that by the end, as I said, it was actually quite easy to now make the right choices. It had already kind of started to become a habit. I didn't crave sugar anymore. So that's what made it easy. Along with that, I wanted to mention something that I do before I start each round of HCG, that for any of you who are in the same boat that I was, being addicted to sugar, may help you with this whole process of making that lifelong change easier. Which to me is all about getting rid of those cravings. What I do before I start the HCG diet and before loading is I do 7 to 10 days of a very high fat and extremely low carb diet. I'm not a doctor or a nurse or anything, so please check with your regular doctor to make sure that this is safe for you to do, but this has worked well for me. So I do the high fat, no sugar, very low carb diet. The key is really high fat, not just low carb. You need to eat high fat as well. And what I found this to do is it eliminates my sugar cravings almost instantly. And I find this to be a very important part of the protocol for myself personally, because when I did my first round of HCG, I had some pretty serious sugar withdrawals that were very, very difficult to deal with when I was actually on the HCG diet. As you know, when you're on the diet, you're only eating about 500 calories. The food is very strict, and there's really no leeway, nowhere you can go for comfort. And so when I started having these sugar withdrawals, it was very, very difficult to cope with, and I almost gave in and gave up because it was just so bad. It might seem laughable to some of you guys if you haven't experienced this or you're not addicted to sugar, but for any of you who are, you'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever tried to get off of it. So it was just very, very difficult, and the fact that I stayed true to the diet, it was very chancy. So after that first time, I did experience another re-addiction to sugar after that, one more time. And this time I really tried to think about things strategically, and I did a bunch of research on low carb and getting over sugar withdrawals as fast as possible. Because once the sugar cravings are gone, it's easy, right? It's just while you have them that it's unbearable. So after doing all the research I did, I came up with, from what I read, that you should eat high fat and low carb. So I do that now before every round, actually, just to be safe, just to kind of get rid of any cravings that I have. And so just for like 1 week, 1 week to 10 days, I'll eat things like a whole package of bacon a day, and I'll have steak, and I'll have, sour cream and cheese, and I'll even have low carb vegetables like spinach or salad, or even some snow peas maybe sauteed in butter, things like that. But I don't have any fruit. I don't have any high carb vegetables, obviously no grain, and things like that. And what that does is, when I did it the first time, it worked exactly as I had hoped. What happened was I did that for the first 2 or 3 days, and my sugar cravings pretty much vanished almost instantly, and it was almost painless. That's the point, is that it be almost painless. I almost didn't notice it at all. There's a couple times when I kind of thought about like, oh, I'd like to buy some chocolate cake, but you know what, then I would have something high fat like some bacon, and then I felt okay and I could manage it. After about 3 days, I didn't have any sugar cravings at all whatsoever. The rest of the week just flew by. Then I started loading, and I always personally load low carb and high fat as well, for the very same reason of the fact that I get sugar cravings very easily. And then I did the diet part, and you know what? The diet itself, that time, was the easiest it had ever been for me, because I was not dealing with those cravings. So I just wanted to add that for any of you who feel like you are addicted to sugar like I was, that worked for me very well, so much so that that's just what I always do as a matter of routine every time I do a round now. And I really hope that that helps you guys, because I want you to be successful, and you can be successful, but you do have to approach it in a strategic way. What I mean by that is sometimes we expect too much of ourselves. It's just not realistic. It's just like it's not realistic to expect, say for an alcoholic, well, you should be able to go into a bar any time of the day, all day long, and never be tempted and never give in. Is that realistic? I don't believe so. If there's something that you have strong temptations for, those are the things that you should avoid. That's what I believe anyway. So thinking about it in the same way with sugar, getting away from it entirely, and for me, cutting it off cold turkey like that and having high fat instead was the quickest way to feel better and to not have those cravings. And then you can do the diet successfully, and then like I said before, by the time you get to the end of that period, now it's been like 2.5 months of not having sugar and unhealthy starches, and by that time, choosing the right foods is a breeze, and you feel like, yeah, I can eat like this forever. This is how, and I feel good about my body, and it's easy. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys, because you can be successful at this. You just kind of have to have the tools in order to do that, and just also to take it step by step. For any of you who are feeling too overwhelmed by the idea of that, making that permanent change when you haven't already made it yet. So I just wanted you guys to know that I have been in that place. I had no intention of changing how I ate forever, and yet here I am, and I have made that change, and I don't consider it to be a daily battle or anything. It's not a daily battle. It's easy. It's just how I live. I don't think at all about going to the ice cream store anymore. I just don't think about it because I don't have cravings for sugar and I eat healthy. So I hope that's helpful to you guys, and just do your research, prepare yourself as much as you can, but don't worry if you are, having anxiety about making the changes right now, because as you go through the process, you will naturally have your mentality change as you start feeling better, okay? So anyway, you guys have a good day. Take care. Bye.
I want to watch one more episode of